Gosh, it's much darker in this room than it is in the other room. All right, welcome. Kids are leaving. I hope I don't have an echo. That's one of the things that just drives me crazy. But let's get rolling. I was talking to my son a while back about slang words. My son has some very fascinating slang words, right? I mean, he says things that are like, what are you talking about? And so I kind of make fun of him, and I'll say, like, the craziest things back to me. He's like, that's dumb, Dad. Why? Stop saying that, right? I mean, you know, right? Nate, you say the same words, right? So there's this slang that takes place, obviously, in all teenagers. We all did it. You did it, right? Everybody's done it. Everybody had a slang word. And, well, you're a little too old. Maybe not. But there's some other people, right, that have slang words. And Tim, you and Bruce, we can remember this. This was a word that's still used today. But we used it. It kind of came in its glory days in the early 80s. The word was dude. Do you remember? You remember this word? Did you use dude? Right? And what I found was that as I loved this word back then because in the 80s, it meant so many things. Dude could be, what's up? Dude. What's up? Right? It could mean, what's up? It could also mean, like, dude, what took you so long? Dude. Right? It could mean, like, you blew it. I mean, you really, really blew it. Dude. Dude. It can also mean, are you in the closet with a knife? Dude? Right? Dude has so many meanings. I was writing these down. I was like, I could go on and on and on. We used it for every single phrase. So much so that I'm sure my parents were like, dude, shut up. But as I was thinking about that tonight, there's a passage of Scripture in Mark 12. If you have your Bibles, my glasses, Mark 28. Somebody read Mark 12, verse 28 for everyone, please. Mark 12, 28. Mark 12, 28. Mark 12, 28. Dude! If you got it, you got to say it really loud for everybody to hear you in this room.
And one of the scribes came up and heard them disputing with one another, and seeing that he answered them well, asked him, which commandment is the most important of all?
Great. Next verse.
Jesus answered, the most important is, Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one.
What does Jesus say here? What? He says the beginning of the Shema. Where have they heard this? What? Where else have they heard this? Where else have they heard it? When in the synagogue? Every single day. Every single day they say, Shema Yisrael. Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai. Every single day. One of the scribes and Pharisees says, all right, I want to know your Torah. I want to know your belief system. I want to know what you think is the greatest of the commandments so I can see if I agree with what you're teaching. This guy asks him, and he says, what's the greatest? And he says, that's easy. Shema. Instantly. He didn't have to finish the sentence. Mark puts it in there. I even wonder if he did finish the sentence. But he probably did because he connected it to another passage from Leviticus 19:18, because I don't think the first part is in Leviticus, right? But he connects it to Leviticus 19:18, where he puts the two together. Here's my Torah. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. Love the Lord your God with all of your heart, with all of your soul, with all of your, depending on your translation, might, resources, something. And the second is like it, he says. Ve'ahavta, and you shall love your neighbor as yourself. Now this is an important thing because words have meaning. Words matter. Dude, so many meanings. As we've learned in Hebrew words have multiple meanings. How many of you have had your mother say, probably not you because you're the oldest, right? You're the parent pleaser. It's probably you, middle child, right? Who was like, Jacob, clean your room, right? Your mom came back like an hour and a half later, room's not clean. What does she say? Did you not hear me? Right? Is she asking you, I know you got a hole in your ear, maybe you didn't hear me. Is that what she's saying when she said? No, what is she saying? She's reiterating, or she's saying, why didn't you do this? She's not actually saying, because she knows you heard her, because you probably said, yeah, I'll do it. But you didn't do it. So she asks you the question, did you not hear me? She's not saying, did you literally hear me? She's saying, why did you not do what I told you to do? Shema, in the Hebrew, hear, O Israel. Hear is only one way to say this word. But Shema also means do. So when we read the Shema Yisrael, when we think, hear, O Israel, it's not meaning hear, just listen to what I'm about to tell you. This command is about listen and do. Don't just listen to me. Don't just hear me. Because how many times when somebody's talking to you, all of a sudden you just see the mouth moving and you don't listen to a word that they say afterwards, and you're like, what did they say? I don't even remember. Or you're like, gosh, I wish I had a recorder in the sermon because I didn't listen to a word he said. Right? This command is different. This isn't about just listening. This command is about doing. Did you clean the room? Don't just listen to these words. Don't just hear, O Israel. I want you to be ready to do these things. And this command is for everyone. Deuteronomy 6:5. Who's Jacob? Deuteronomy 6:5, please. Sorry, I thought you were already there. You said you were reading your Bible, and I said you clean your room.
Sorry, Deuteronomy 6:5. You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your strength.
Ve'ahavta yod he vav he Elohim. You shall love the Lord your God with all of your heart, with all of your soul. What did it say? What did your translation say? With all your strength. Interesting. Okay. So I wanted to break these down just for a quick second. What does it mean when it says to love the Lord your God with all of your heart? So to get to that, before we just speculate, we have to get to the Hebrew word. What is the Hebrew word for heart? Anybody know? What? Close. No. Ve'ahavta is you shall love. Lev is your heart. When it says lev is in your heart, does it mean the heart that is beating? You're supposed to love the Lord with all the pumps that it beats? Is that what you're supposed to love God with? What does that mean? How do we love God with all of our heart? Right? And if lev means heart, does it literally mean heart beating, or does it mean maybe something a little bit different? In fact, lev does not necessarily mean your heart. If I were to look at Bruce, and I'm going to look at his heart, what do I see? Literal. What do I see? I don't see his heart. I see a shirt. Thank you. I can't see anything in here, right? So when the Hebrew says to love with all of your heart, it's not literally the inside of your heart beating. It's all the things that are underneath the skin. All of the things that maybe make up your decisions, which would be what? Your thoughts. What else? Intentions. What else? I was looking at you. Perfect. Your emotions are all on the inside, are they not? All of that is tucked away inside, and all of those things determine what you're going to do. Your thoughts and your emotions, and a lot of times they're at conflict with each other. Logically, I should do this, but I feel like I should do this. That is lev. You are to love God with all of your lev, all of the things that are tucked inside your gut, all of those emotions, all of those thoughts, all of those intentions. This is what I should do. You're supposed to love God with all of those things. My thoughts, my decisions, my emotions. Because what I decide and how I decide and what I do as a result of my decision shows whether I love God or not. To love God with all of my heart is to apply God's point of view in every decision that I make. To make Him count in every deciding factor in my life. Emotionally, mentally. Okay, so if that's my heart, what's the next thing that I'm supposed to love Him with? My soul. Okay, how do I love God with my soul? Is that soul that thing that floats up when I'm dead? Is that soul that invisible thing that's inside of me? Right? The Hebrew here is actually the word nephesh. Nephesh is also translated in other places as like what I see, your shirt, your skin. It's also what you do. Your nephesh is what defines you as a person. It's your actions. The nephesh is what I witness when I look at you and when I hear you. That is your nephesh. What's the expression? How's it go? What does it say? Oh, where did I put it?
What you see is what you get.
That's it. That's it. What you see is what you get. That's nephesh. What you see is what you get. The question is, do people see God in what they see in you? When you speak and act and work and treat your spouse, your friends, your girlfriends, your coworkers, your bosses, your employees, do they see God in all of those actions? Do they see that you love God in every single one of those actions? How I treat my friends, how I lead, how I serve. My actions, what you see is what you get, and do they see God in what they get? Love God with all of your heart, with all of your soul, and what else? Strength. What else? Might. Anybody else? Your being. Okay, good. That would kind of go with nephesh, right? Your being. This is a really difficult translation because the word is me'od. Can you say that? Me'od. Me'od is a very difficult translation because it's a verb, and it means muchness, right? A lot. So how do we get like strength or might out of it? It's this really odd translation of something that's supposed to be taking place. It's my muchness. Here's one of the words you see it translated. It's my very. What does that even mean? My very. So here's the thing. What is me'od then? Me'od has to do with all of my stuff. All of my muchness. And what do I do with my muchness? What's that? Everything with my muchness, hopefully. But that's a good question. What is it? What is my muchness? Is this idea that I recognize that everything that I have is a gift. Everything that I have, from the clothes on my body to the relationships that I have, to the children that I have, to the position that I have in life, to the title that I have, everything that I have is a gift. Because God somehow in the background, in the back scenes, somehow orchestrated all these things so I could be right here, right now, doing what I'm doing, with the influence that I have, with the clothes that I have, with the wife that I have, with the kids that I have. God orchestrated all of those things, and what do I do with it? Do I steward it as God would steward it? Or do I do whatever I want with it? Is it mine or is it His? If I'm to love God me'od, with all of my muchness, it's this recognition that everything that I have is His. And how do you treat what's something that somebody has given you? If somebody says, here's the keys to my Maserati, Bruce, watch this for the weekend. Maybe that was the wrong example. Yeah, that's somebody else. Dude, the Ferris Bueller's Day Off right here. But if I gave Lindley, I give you something of value. I want you to watch my kids for the weekend. Me and Andrew are going on a vacation. How do you watch them? Like you would your own. Why? Give me a why, though. Not just because, that's just how. Why would you look after my kids if you were looking after your own? Because you would want me to treat your kids with the utmost value, right? They're not just kids. They're not just garbage. They're not just like, oh, do whatever. They're valuable. Because I recognize how valuable my kids, I am going to protect and take care of your kids because they're yours. They're not mine. So it even raises the bar on how I take care of your kids because they're not mine. I'm not going to send your kids back to you dirty, broken, whatever. How do you treat what God has given you? Do you treat it like it's yours and you can do whatever you want with it? Think about this. Not just the material, not just the children. What about the talent that you have? The talent, whether it's basketball or music or leadership or influence. How do you treat the things that God has given you? Are they yours or are they His? When you have a title, whether it be a principal or a teacher, CEO, president, coach, mother, father, friend, we're to treat these things as though God personally handed them to us and said, take care of this for me. It's mine, but I'm trusting you as a teacher to take care of this. Deuteronomy 6, 4, and 5, please.
Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your might. And these words that I command you today shall be on your heart.
Good. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is echad. He is one. Which is interesting because in a lot of places His name is plural. But He's one. Somehow there's this weird thing about His name being plural yet one, all in the same time. Here we are described as what? Plural or one? See, in the Greek world, we want to separate these things. You're supposed to love God with all of your muchness today. Tomorrow you can work on your mind. You know, I know it's busy and it's tough and you can study later, but today just work on your muchness, right? And then maybe you can get to your nefesh later. Right? We want to separate these things. This week I'm going to work on loving God with all of my mind. Next week I'm going to work with God with all of my heart. Maybe, my might will come. I'll get in shape, that week. The Greek world separates these things. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. The plural God is one. The human being is not three separate parts. All of those things represent our oneness. To love God with, what does it say again? Love the Lord your God with what? Stop. With what? Nope. With what? All. That is a Hebrew word, kol. It's not just in there because it's like trying to add the sentence. The actual word is kol, meaning everything. Everything that I have that is not mine, I am supposed to do something with. I am supposed to empty myself out and give that back to him, or use it to do something with it. What does Jesus say about the parable of the 3 servants who he gave a coin to? Right? He comes to 3 servants. He says, I'm leaving town. Bruce, I'm going to give you 1 coin. I want you to take care of this. This is mine. Deborah, I'm going to give you 2 coins. You take care of these things. Jake, I'm going to give you 3. I'm really trusting you with 3, all right? So you take care of these. I'm going to be gone. When I come back, just return them to me. What happens? Comes back. Jake here, young stud, right? What does he do? He's like, I got this, right? I'm going to take these 3 coins. I'm going to invest them. I'm going to do this with them. I'm going to start this business. I'm going to start that. And all of a sudden, I come back, and he's doubled those 3 coins. Deborah, maybe not as ingenuous, but talented, does the same thing. She starts another business and does all kinds of stuff with her family and starts all this stuff. I come back, she gives me 4 talents. Dude. I come back, you say, man, I was so afraid of what you would do to me if I lost this coin. So I buried it. But here it is. You can have it back. What does the master say? He doesn't just scold him. He calls him wicked. And he says, get him out of my sight. And he takes his coin and he gives it not to Deborah, to Jacob. For who has given, he will receive more. What do we do with the things that have been given to us? Do we use them to bring glory, to bring honor, to say, this is yours, and I'm going to do everything that I can with this talent? Or do I sit on it like, I don't know what to do with this. I'm just going to put it in my back pocket and just see what happens? Would you do that with your own? When God gives you something, you should treat it as better than what you think is yours. But from a Hebrew perspective, nothing's yours. Everything is his. In every aspect of our body, we are supposed to love God with. Deuteronomy 6:6.
Words that I command you today shall be in your heart.
And these words that I command you today. So, this is a command. And where shall it be? On your what? On your heart. That's interesting. Did we hear something like that last week? What was the second commandment? Do you remember? I brought these up just in case we forgot. What's the second commandment? What is that? Bet, which is what? Tent. Good. And why was it a tent? What's inside? What was the command again? No, on 6:6?
These words that I command you today shall be on your heart.
What's in your heart? It went from a suggestion last week to, I'm going to command this. This needs to be in your heart. These words that I'm giving you, how you love, how you respect, how you honor me, it's what is demonstrated in your heart. It's what's demonstrated in your house. It's what's demonstrated in your tent. Everybody will see that and recognize that. What is in your tent? The power of this commandment then places a tremendous amount of personal responsibility on every single person who reads this. No longer can we say, man, I wish somebody would help the homeless. When's the church going to do that? Man, my aunt really needs some help, and if somebody could help her move, from St. Bernard to Metairie, great if the church could help. Maybe somebody could hire somebody to do that. Man, my friend at work, man, she's really struggling. I mean, maybe she should go to the gathering and do some counseling. Or maybe you say, hey, do you want to get some coffee? Or maybe you say, hey, Aunt Deb, I got a truck and a trailer. Do you want me to help? There's somebody that you know that's in need, Bruce? All right, what should we do? I got my checkbook. Do we just need to get a room? Imagine what would happen if we took personal responsibility and were our brother's keeper. Instead of always looking to say, somebody else should do that. God says, no, this is a command. You are to love me with all of your lev, nefesh, and me'od. Everything that you have is mine. Use it like I would use it. Everything. Deuteronomy 6:7.
You shall teach them diligently to your children, and shall talk of them when you sit in your house, when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise.
The most precious gift of all is our children. My house could burn down, my car could flood. Nothing is more important than my children. Do they know God? Do they know the importance of what it means to follow God? Is that my responsibility? Or is that, well, Walt's got them, he's going to teach them? Oh, God forbid, right? No. It's not the people who show up on Saturday night. They're to reinforce what I'm supposed to be teaching every single day. They're supposed to be taking them out of this room so they're not bored stiff, so they can go have a discussion amongst themselves about what the Bible is teaching them and how they've been learning all week and living this out all week. Do I take that as a command from God? Do I take that command seriously? You are to teach this to your children, because what happens if the next generation doesn't know this stuff? What happens if the next generation grows up not knowing what it means to follow the commandments of God, not knowing what it means to have a relationship with God, not knowing what it means to have grace and forgiveness and mercy in your relationships with people because of your relationship with God? What happens if they don't know what it means to have discipline or pursuing something that is hard and difficult, but there's, as we learned today, satisfaction that comes from that? What happens if you don't teach your children this? God says this isn't optional. You are commanded to do this stuff. And then for the next 4 verses, he gives several examples. We'll skip those right now. But the several examples he recognizes, like, look, I created you, so I know what you need. You're a tangible person. Because left to your own devices, if I just tell you this, as Aaron says, you'll probably go home later tonight and flush everything that I said. Monday morning wakes up, what did you guys talk about? I don't even remember. God says, all right, I understand that. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to give you these tangible things that you're going to use, and it's going to be a part of your everyday life. He says, I want you to wear certain clothes that you are reminded every time that you walk. You think about lust, or you think about something you shouldn't be talking about. There's these tassels that hang down and that remind you of who you are in me. There's this thing that I want you to put by your door that every time that you leave, I want you to touch this thing on the door, because inside that little thing, that little mezuzah on your doorpost, says what, Deborah? It says, Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Every time you leave, I want you to touch that and remember, this is who you serve. And every time that you come home, I want you to touch that when you go in the door. So when you leave, you're reminded, I'm supposed to live my lev, my nefesh, and my od when I get to my job. And when every time I walk into my house, I'm to remember that I'm to love my wife and my kids with my lev and my nefesh Am I owed? Because that's how I'm supposed to love God. He says, here are the tangible things that I want you to do. The question that I have for you tonight is, what are the tangible things in your life that remind you every single day, this is how I'm to love God? Because coming to church on Saturday just does not cut it, people. What are the tangible reminders that you have every single day that remind you, don't leave the house today without being reminded, this is who I am and this is my mission? What reminds you of who you are? I am a child of God. I am royalty. I have been called to be a priest and a leader in this community by the way I live my life because I am called by God to do so. What reminds you to do that? Because God knows we need reminders. He has it right here. He tells you, this is what I want you to do. He knows we need tangible reminders. Too often we're like, I don't need that. Oh, it doesn't look good in my house. Can I just put it somewhere else? Dang it, no. Do it. What is it? What do you have? That is a literal question. I hope all of you write that down. Like, what is it that I have that is in my house, in my car, at my job that reminds me how I'm supposed to live my life? What is it? We are to love God with all of our heart, our lev, our nephesh, and our me'od. My whole being, my whole existence. Do I recognize that if it wasn't for the grace of God, I probably wouldn't be here today? There are many things in my own life where I can look back. There were forks in the road that, by the grace of God, He designed a door that opened that if I wouldn't have taken that door, I wouldn't be here today. Do I recognize that I'm to love God with all of my whole being, my entire existence, and all the stuff that I have because it's His? Do I live this way? Are you reminding yourself to live this way? Because otherwise, Aaron's going to set up a call list, and he's going to call you every morning, send out a text every 3 hours, right? Talked about that? No. No. Why not? Because it's not his responsibility for your spiritual growth. It's not his responsibility to tell you you are a child of God. That is your responsibility. It's not my responsibility either, people. It's yours. We, together, when each and every one of us recognize this responsibility, man, God can do great things through that community. God does amazing things through a community that says we know who we are and we together know what our mission is. That's the power of a spiritual community. So, let me pray. And then I just hope that we can end the night with just community, conversation, encouragement, and an opportunity to just lift each other up where need be. Father, we just thank you for tonight. We thank you for the Sabbath. We thank you for an opportunity to think about you all day. To have an opportunity to be able to discuss your will in our life, to rest, and to recognize that everything that we have and everything that happened in this prior week, you were with me. And everything that I have, I give you for this upcoming week. I pray, Father, that we together recognize where we can love you with our heart, our actions, and our stuff. We praise your holy name. Amen. All right. Enjoy your conversations. Enjoy your lifting up. Questions, come on up if you have some. Have a good weekend. Have a good rest of your weekend.